First up tonight, Senator Alex Antic joins us for... thanks for joining me. I could not resist, Alex, playing that exchange again. I mean, it does show you the danger, doesn't it, of having a captain's pick from an ambassadorial job as a political appointment. I mean, it was never the right thing to do, was it?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's just sort of almost an inevitability that it was going to go that way, really. I mean, they didn't have the relationship. Things that a lot of people, I think, have said about the president over the last 10 years have come back and haunted them, and that we saw that play out very much in the White House with that clip you just showed. Yeah, look, I just don't think there's any way that the government couldn't continue to have this fractured relationship. We saw during the Morrison government that the importance of Ambassador Hockey's import into saving the aluminium industry and the importance of the relationship between the Trump administration and the government and how critical it can be for Australians and Australians' interests. So it just simply could not go on. The people that have been talked about, I think, are good choices. People like Joel Fitzgibbon and Stephen Conroy, I think, has been flown around as a choice. It might be one of the two of them. Joel would be excellent, of course, as well. So let's see where it goes. But I think there was just a certain air of inevitability about this, and I think we all saw it.
Pauline Hanson suggested today either Brendan Nelson, perhaps, or even Peter Cosgrove, the former Governor-General. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't get two better names than those two people.
Definitely. Both would be excellent. Of course, they'd be more from my side of the coin as well. But I mean, historically, we know that these appointments, might go a different way. But look, any of those four names, I think will do a pretty good job, honestly.
Alex, the Prime Minister, alongside Tony Burke and Michelle Rowland yesterday, I'm sure you were watching it, announced a raft of new hate speech laws put into legislation, which the opposition's now just got their hands on. They called them the toughest ever. But as I said, though, I mean, there are holes you could drive a truck through with this legislation already. What did you make of what you know already?
Yeah, look, well, it's 140 pages of pretty heavy going. I mean, the first observation I'd make is how quickly did these get put together? I mean, this is a very, very significant piece of legislation that just seemed to be rattled out straight off the cuff. Now, that is interesting in itself, but let's have a look at what we're actually looking at here. And that is, I think, if this bill was to pass, arguably the biggest change in Australian domestic law in 25 to 30 years. I mean, we're talking huge and significant changes to areas like the criminal law, to customs law, to migration law, firearms, again, as a sub-subject to the whole thing. This is an extraordinary bill, omnibus-style bill that's been rammed through, and the government are looking to pass it all in one block. So that's the first observation. It shouldn't be done in one hit like that. From where I sit, though, it makes life a lot easier because rather than voting no to four separate bills like I intend to be doing, I'll be voting no to one block. I have absolutely no intention, regardless of the position adopted by the coalition, frankly, of supporting this bill and all of the hate crime stuff that goes with it. We have enough laws on the books in this country as it is. Firearms owners in this country do not need any more imposts on them. And look, there are. I mean, look, we could go on for an hour about the holes in this legislation and the concerns. It opens up new categories of crimes. It gives the ASIO director the ability to recommend that certain groups be dictated to be hate crimes groups. Now, where that leads to is anyone's guess, but I'm concerned about the slippery slope on this and what are the next groups. I mean, obviously, we all have a problem with the hate crime, the sort of the hate preaching and whatever else. But once the door's open to this becomes a very difficult precedent for freedoms in this country and free speech. I just don't support any of it. And I hope that is the position adopted by the coalition.
I made the point last night that, I mean, it's a bit rich for the government now to try and convince us that they're going to crack down and have these very tough hate laws. They had hate laws in place already, and for all of the period after the Gaza terror attacks in Israel, they didn't use them. I mean, we have, in Melbourne, we've had over 120 Palestinian protest marches in the streets, people carrying, flags for all sorts of terror organisations, talking about intifada, but nothing happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're exactly right. And of course, that leads us into the subcategory of conversation about this, which is how often is this selectively enforced? I mean, this is the problem with this. I mean, you're right. We did have 12 months ago what we were told were extremely strong hate crimes laws, by the way, which I crossed the floor to object to at the time and vote against, and which I would do so again, mainly because these laws largely already exist. The police have the powers already to take action against the sorts of things we're talking about here. Australia already, by the way, has some of the most arduous and significantly controlled firearms laws anywhere in the world. And we're now seeking to expand them. In most cases, I think we could say that none of the things in this bill would have done anything to stop the tragedy of the Bondi attacks in any event. So what are we talking about here? And what is this Prime Minister doing with these laws? This is just simply not, doesn't pass the pub test on any level.
What in your world would we be doing to, and this seems to be the aim of what's going on here, to try and stamp down on, if it is the aim, on anti-Semitism? What in your world would you use to try and stop that from happening?
Well, I think you've got to look at the problem as it stands, and that is the importing of this sort of ideology into the country. That is really the thing that started this ball rolling. That's the thing that has the most import in terms of the overall pushing back on this issue, not putting further imposts on law-abiding Australians, frankly. So I think you begin and end there, and the problem becomes very, very controllable if you simply stem the flow of radical ideology coming into this country. It's as simple as that.
I mean, we've seen, and Sky's run the vision over and over again of radical imams in mosques celebrating what happened in Israel when those people were slaughtered. I mean, you know, in my simpleton's view, those people ought to be rounded up and, if possible, thrown out of the country.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one of the things that we would say about this suite of laws is it does seek to put further powers in the hands of immigration to send people home in those circumstances, which I think is a good thing, but wrapped up with the broader context of imposts on free speech. I mean, there is a certain chilling effect that happens here. They're also introducing a brand new category of offences relating to racial discrimination, and it lends into this sort of concept of serious harm, which can be mental anguish or intimidation. So, you know, you're sort of opening the killing field, so to speak, of possible offences that people can just stumble into. We have so much impost on free speech in this country already. This is simply going to add further layers to it. Look, I mean, of course, there is more to be done on this. I think the more you read this 140 pages of laws they're trying to ram through in 2 days with very little consultation, the worse it gets, frankly.
As a very strong supporter of free speech, I want to get your opinion, given, like me, you're from Adelaide, South Australia, and you know we've celebrated the arts and the festivals in Adelaide forever. This Writers' Week thing that's been now cancelled, week of controversy surrounding that decision to drop Palestinian Australian author Dr. Randa Abdel Fattah. What do you make of all of this?
Well, look, I mean, I would say a little bit, you know, in trying to keep a consistent theme on this, I don't like anyone being cancelled for anything that's not calling for death and mayhem, and that's not what was the case here. That was not what was happening here. So, I mean, I will make the observation though that I personally would just like to hear people speak when we have people like Candace Owens or other commentators that want to come to this country and speak their minds. I don't have to agree with those people, but I want to hear what they say. And the market of free thought, free opinion should then determine whether or not we think those people are saying good things or bad things. So, you know, as long as it's not hurting people, so be it. But what I would say is this. Have a look at the way the left rally around issues like this. I mean, they've had a total walkout of the board now. They've all resigned, basically, except for one appointee, as I understand it. And the right in this country, the right of politics, could take a lot of lessons from the manner in which the left of politics fight their battles and the sort of unity that they show when it comes to these sorts of fights. If only we'd seen more of this during the COVID period, we may not have had the calamity that we had. So I think that's the takeaway for me. I don't want to see anyone cancelled for their opinions. I think we need to hear them. But let's sit back and have a look at the way the left of centre in this country fight their fights. I think the right could take a lot of lessons from that.
Well, 180 of the authors walked away as well. So, I mean, the event, I mean, it's no surprise that it's had to be cancelled because most of the people that were going to appear at it have decided they're not going to turn up.
That's right. That's right. And that is the very nature of collective action, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of, if we'd had a similar approach from, sports people during the mandate period, or indeed any of the professions who were being mandated vaccination during the COVID period, we wouldn't have had the calamity we did. So they do it very well. But what a shame that when the shoe goes onto the other foot soon, I'm sure that there'll be someone from the United States who wants to come here and share ideas, who will have a visa cancelled or whatever else, and there won't be a peep out of the right.
It's interesting you say that, I mean, because post what happened in Bondi, there was a gathering of groups, everybody from, victims' families, understandably, to former politicians, to sports people, to business leaders. They all did get together in groups and make the point very strongly to Anthony Albanese that he needed to be a more of a leader and have a royal commission. And in fact, we've ended up with one.
In 1 month's time, too, showing once again the need, I think, for everyday Australians to start rallying around these issues. I mean, look, I've said for a long period of time to people, it's no longer enough in this country, our trajectory, to simply sit back and say, well, someone else has got this. The institutions that we've trusted are going to continue to protect us. Or everyday ordinary Australians who have a view about what's happening in their country need to be as involved as they can be. Now, that might be at local government level. That might be in their professional bodies, voting for the right candidates there, or it might be in politics generally. But you're absolutely right. In a short amount of time, a relatively small number of people managed to force the Prime Minister's hand into a royal commission and make a real difference. So I think our side of politics needs to start learning those lessons.
Alex Antic, good to catch up with you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.